Hello and welcome to the 33rd episode of the Meet the Media Veteran series. Our today's guest is an author and journalist. She has been associated with prestigious newspapers and news broadcast networks in India. She has scripted several documentaries, advertisements, television programs, short and full-length feature films. Her contribution to the field of media doesn't stop here. She has also been an active TEDx speaker. So before I present her detailed biography to the audience, let me first welcome the eminent author and journalist, Ms. Nandita Puri, to the show.
Thank you. Namaskar. Good afternoon and good morning. And wonderful to be on your platform and to be talking about, today I'll be talking a different thing, the journey, the life and works of Om Puri ji. But yes, you do the introduction, of course.
Very warm
Rizwan,
welcome.
thank you very much.
It's such an honor having you on the show today.
And very humble to be on your show.
Thank you so much. Nandita Puri has worked as a journalist and writer with several newspapers and magazines such as The Telegraph, The Statesman, The Times of India, and The Reader's Digest. For nearly a decade, she wrote two popular weekly columns on cinema for Midday and Dainik Bhaskar. She has also worked as broadcast journalist for All India Radio and Radio Network in Kolkata. She was a member of Script Committee for National Film Development Corporation and CFSI as well as a TEDx speaker. She has published a number of critically acclaimed books, including her anthology of short stories 9 on 9 and a novel Two Worlds. In March this year, Nandita published Jennifer, a best-selling book on child trafficking and inter-country adoption based on the story of Jennifer Hans. All her books are available on Amazon, Flipkart, Kindle, Goodreads, and a host of other sites as well. Nandita has also written for television, film documentaries, as well as shorts. Her biography of her late husband, veteran actor Mr. Om Puri, titled Unlikely Hero Om Puri, is a bestseller and has been translated into several languages. In 2017, she launched the Om Puri Foundation at the 70th Cannes Film Festival in memory of her husband and to carry forward his legacy. Currently, she chairs the foundation, and today she is going to talk on life and work of phenomenon known as Om Puri. So without further ado, may I request Ms. Nandita Puri to kindly deliver her talk on the life and work of Om Puri. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Rizwan. And it's an honor. And let me tell all my listeners and who are tuned in today that this month rather, we kickstart the 70th birth anniversary of Omji. So he was born on 18th October, officially 18th October. We will be launching our YouTube channel called Puri Baate. And this whole year from 18th October, from the month of October till October 2021, we are going to have a lot of interesting functions, programs, film festivals of Omjis at various platforms in India and abroad, all over the world. And very happy to kickstart this month with this talk on Omji. Now, of course, I don't have to explain Omji to all of you. He has been, one of the most well-recognized face, not only in India, but all over the world, and perhaps the only Indian actor who has a volume of over 100 British, US films and television serials, apart from, 250 Indian films and TV serials, etc. So that's almost like a 350 work volume, huge body of work. And he embodied, Shabana Azmi, Smita Patil, and Nasiruddin Shah, they are the four main pillars of the so-called parallel cinema movement, or the art film of parallel cinema movement of the 90s, 80s, late 80s and 90s. The films of Satyajit Ray, Mrinal Sen, Ritik Ghatak, the films of Shyam Benegal, Said Mirza, Ketan Mehta, Govind Nihalani, and a whole lot of others. So that's, they were the stalwarts, the flag bearers of the art cinema movement. So let's begin. And of course, after that, he went off. He had several major turning points in his life, and it's not very easy to encapsulate a huge personality and his work in, in such a short period. So I will quickly go on to the main turning points in his life. Of course, I'll begin from reading from my book, Unlikely Hero, Om Puri. The title Unlikely Hero was given by Sham Benegal because Sham Babu felt that he was a hero, but most unlikely, with the most unlikely physicalities. And so did Satyajit Ray and a whole lot of others felt that Omji was one of the most unlikely heroes we have today in cinema. I will begin by reading from my book, When Om Puri Was Born. Om Puri was born in Ambala, then in the Punjab, now in Haryana, without a doubt. But there is a dispute regarding the date and year of his birth. There is neither any birth certificate nor any other record about it, and the year could be 1949 or 1950. His mother Tara Devi always told him that he was born 2 days after the Shera. Later, when he joined school in Sanaur near Patiala, his Mama Ji or maternal uncle picked 9th March 1950 as his birth date and year. That stuck as the official date. Years later, around 1976, when he came to Bombay, Om decided to give himself a new birth date. He looked up the 2 days that year after the Shera and decided to keep 18th October as his birthday. And since then, that is the day he celebrates with friends and family. So at times, he receives birthday cards twice a year. But I would also like to add, much after I wrote the book, Omji actually agreed that he picked 18th October that year, not only because it was 2 days after the Shera, as his mother had told him, but also the fact that his mentor and guru in the National School of Drama, Ibrahim Al-Qazi, also was born on the 18th of October, and so he wanted to share his birthday with Al-Qazi Saab. So that came to stay. It took him so long to decide on a birthday because he never had the occasion to remember or celebrate it throughout his school and college years, apart from the fact that his mother made kheer 2 days after the Shera each year at home to celebrate the birth of one of India's and the world's finest actors. As many years later, his friend and colleague actor Nasiruddin Shah was to remark, Om was born with a wooden spoon in his mouth. So that is exactly the early beginnings. He had about, there were 10 siblings, out of which only 2 survived, his oldest brother, Ved Prakash, and he, the youngest one. So now what happened with Omji was, as a kid, he was very shy and he always wanted to be an actor. So what he did was, he would go, and when nobody was looking, he would, dim the lights and start acting in front of the mirror. But the big break came. He went to Khalsa College, he studied, he did a regular course in graduation. But the big break came during Punjab under the tutorship of Harpal Tiwana Sahab. Now, Harpal Tiwana is known as the father of Punjabi theatre, and Tiwana Sahab ran a theatre group called the Punjab Kala Manch, out of which a whole lot of actors from the Punjab came out, including Raj Babbar and others. And so, after his graduation, Omji, after he graduated from Khalsa College, he actually was working as a munshi in a munshi's office as a munshi's assistant, and he was earning 150 rupees a month. So then he saw some of the plays of Punjab Kala Manch, and he asked Tiwana Sahab, and I think Tiwana Sahab also saw him in a play during the college festival, and decided that this boy is extremely talented and I must have him in my group. So Om said, no, sorry, I can't, because, Om came from a very, very poor family. As a 6-year-old, he also worked in a tea stall, to put food on the table for his family. So he told Tivana Saab, there is no way I can, join theatre, because I am earning 150 rupees, and that's a long way. And even in school and college, he gave tuitions to sustain himself. So Tivana Saab said, okay, fine. I will pay you 150 rupees, and you join my theatre company as an actor. And you begin by, serving tea and helping in the sets. And then slowly we will start putting you in, plays. You can join us in plays. So this was the first turning point in his life. He took a big, wise decision, and he said, okay, uh, he gave up the steady job of 150 rupees. He joined Punjab Kala Manch under Harpal Tivana. They traveled all over northern India, Shimla, all over. And he also learned over there, not just stagecraft, not just acting, but stagecraft, how to make use when when there's no stage in a particular place. They're going to present a play, so they would take the dining tables in a school and put it together, tie it together, put a cloth over it, and use it as a makeshift stage. And how to use false light through they would cut cans. So these were the basic things he learned with Tivana Saab. The background. It's not just being an actor, it's also you should know the background, and that comes in very handy. Now, the second turning point in Omji's life was, he worked in Punjab Kala Manch for about 2 years, did a lot of plays, traveled to a lot of places, including Calcutta, and learned a few finer things in life, like eating at a restaurant and stuff like that. Then much later, he decided in 1976 that he wanted to join the National School of Drama in Delhi. Now, Harpal Tivana and his wife were one of the earliest batches from NSD. So they were the ones who kind of encouraged him. And Nina Tivana, his wife, was also, I think, one of the first few ladies who were at NSD. I think the first or the second, lady actress from NSD. So they kind of encouraged him. He applied to National School of Drama, and he did get in, and he joined National School of Drama. So the next turning point in his life was NSD, or the National School of Drama, in 1976. Now, I'll read a little bit about NSD, his NSD years. National School of Drama, because from Punjab Kala Manch, he is moving now on to a regular, absolutely regular, proper school of drama, which was very important for an actor to follow the course. National School of Drama proved to be a transforming experience for Om. Despite having a friend with him, his first 6 months in NSD were miserable. The main cause was language. Having studied in Punjabi and Hindi medium schools, he could barely converse in English. And even his Hindi had a very strong Punjabi accent. So it was the sheer frustration of not being able to follow what he had come to learn at the National School of Drama. So after about 6 months, Om wanted to run back to Patiala and maybe become an overseer or work in a Munshi's firm, as his uncles had planned, or work as a clerk in a government office. But the person responsible for averting this misfortune was Ibrahim Al-Qazi, who was the director of NSD those days. Al-Qazi realized Om's discomfiture and sent a senior student, M.K. Raina, to check on him. Raina befriended Om, found out the main cause of his discomfiture, and told Al-Qazi Saab. One day, Al-Qazi called him and explained to Om that not knowing a language should not hold him back from pursuing his dream. You are hardworking and a good student, and if at all you get stuck for words in English, just continue to speak in Hindi. Don't hold back, but you must read the English newspaper allowed daily in front of the mirror, listen to the news, and stand and talk to your friends in English too. Om took these points from Al-Qazi very, very seriously, and he soon settled down. And soon enough, he started enjoying his, his days in the National School of Drama, because not only he understood his lessons, there was yoga, there was dancing, of course, which he was not very good at. Then there was, world drama, international drama, Indian drama. Then Al-Qazi Sahib had introduced 2 classes of music. So, twice a week, the students could go to the library, pick up their music and listen to it so that it enriched you. And there were also reading classes where they could sit in the library and read whatever they wanted to. Of course, there were also films, but and there was yoga and there was music. The students had to sing, and Om was such a bad singer that the music teacher would tell him and Nasir that aap dono ek kaam karo for the viva, dono ek saath gao, because don't waste our time and yours. We can't jhelo one after the other. So dono ek saath gana gao. So this was things, and of course he made lasting friendships. There was Rohini Hattangari, Nasiruddin Shah, whole lot of them who were Jayashree and well, I forget most of the names. Anyway, there's a whole lot. M.K. Raina, of course, Nadira Babbar, Raj Babbar. Of course, Raj joined in later. Om kind of recommended Raj Babbar ji to join. So we have a whole lot of, people. And actually the best person who is responsible, if Al-Qazi Saab, being a professor who was hands-on professor, and he took personal interest in every student. It's not that the major, actors who spoke fabulous English like Nasiruddin Shah. He also saw to it this boy from Punjab did not understand. There was some problem with him, and he made it a point that by the 2nd year, Om Puri was understanding the language. By the 3rd year, apart from speaking excellent Hindi and Punjabi, he also started speaking decent English. And the surprising part of this whole outcome is in 2005, Om Puri, he almost ran away from the National School of Drama because he did not understand the lessons in English, actually won the Order of the British, was awarded the Order of the British Empire by the Queen of England, for his contribution to British cinema, to English cinema and English, films. So it is ironic that somebody who could not understand, who came from a Punjabi medium school, could actually became the first and only Indian actor till date to have, the OBE, which is equal to our Padam Shri in India. And I remember when, Om got the Padam Shri, and Al-Qazi Saab was so happy that actually he went and said, I am so proud of my student Om Puri, because he is perhaps not only a fine Indian actor, but he's an actor of international repute to reckon with worldwide. So that was, I would say, the second turning point after the Punjab Kala Manch, the second turning point. But of course, it is the most important, and I would say the most crucial turning point in Om Puri's life. And of course, after, FTI was the one defining, NSD was the, defining moment of his life. Not only he had Al-Qazi, he studied great theatre under international directors like Fritz Benowitz and others who came to NSD to, have plays. And soon after, he was very keen to be a theatre artist. But what happened is, NSD is a place which gives a scholarship. So the 3 years in NSD went off very smoothly as far as, the money was concerned. But after that, he did want to take up theatre. He stayed in Delhi for a year. He worked with the, the Al-Qazi's theatre repository and other places. He worked in theatre, but he just could not sustain because he didn't have a place to stay. He didn't have money to eat, and he was actually depending on the goodness of friends, and this couldn't last very long. So after a year, he decided that he would apply for the Punjab scholarship, the Punjab government scholarship, and go to the Film and Television Institute in Pune to study on films, because he realized theatre is not going to sustain him. So he decided if he had to survive with acting, and he loved acting, be it theatre, be it films. So he decided if he had to survive on acting, it had to be films. It had to be as a film actor. So then he decided to go to Pune. His classmate from NSD, Nasiruddin Shah, was already in Pune. So he ended up being a year senior to Om. And Om, a year later, joined Pune as 1 year junior to Nasir. And of course, he tells us the story that Nasir really ragged him during the, during the, what you call the opening for the juniors. So he made him read Mark Antony's speech in Hindi, which he had excelled at the National School of Drama, over and over and over again on repeat mode. And Om Puri couldn't do anything because Nasiruddin Shah was a senior in FTI. So anyway, in FTI also there were excellent professors, wonderful. What he learned in theatre and NSD, he picked up in FTI, in films. And he got to know world cinema, Indian cinema, studied the classics. But of course, things became very tough in FTI because the Punjab government the scholarship did not come in time. And he had to leave FTI after the first year because he could not pay the fees. Luckily, his roommates, like David Dhawan and others who were his roommates, helped him out. Then David Dhawan, then Bantu Dhawan, the other Dilip Dhawan, and there was the canteen guy called Chitle, who actually gave him free food for 3 years as long as he was in FTI. But even then, that was not going to sustain him. And at the end of a year, he realized it was going to be very difficult, and he had to drop out of the Film and Television Institute. And just like in NSD, Ibrahim Al-Qazi was his God, was his mentor, was his guru. In FTI, there was another person who came in the form of an archangel or God, and that was Girish Karnad. So Girish Karnad was the director of FTI, and he realized that Om Puri was a fine actor. And I remember there's one very interesting, anecdote during the interview. So Girish Karnad and actor Jairaj and others were on the board of the interview board, and they looked at Om Puri and they said, "Oh, this guy is a fabulous actor." Girish Karnad said, "He is amazing. His interview is fabulous." So the others said, but he doesn't look like a hero. He doesn't look like a villain, and he doesn't look like a comedian. So where do we fit him, and why do we, take him in? So Girish Karnad again saved the day and said, "Well, it's none of our business what he does, whether he fits in as a hero, comedian, or villain. He is a fine actor, and we should have him." That's how he came to FTI, and he was about to leave FTI, but again, Girish Karnad came to the rescue. During the first summer break, between first to second year, he made Om work in a film by B.V. Karan. Girish recommended and told Karan Saab that please, take this young boy because he needs the money. So he was paid 3,000 rupees for his very first film, which is called Chor Chor Chup Jai. And his first co-star was a monkey called Ramu. And this is a shot from the film Chor Chor Chup Jai. So Chor Chor Chup Jai kind of saved Om Puri. He got 3,000 rupees, which he could pay the fees of FTI and just sustain himself for the next 2 years. And again, it was thanks to Girish Karnad. If he hadn't been there, probably Om Puri would not have been a film actor. He would have been a struggling theatre actor. So there we go. We finished, and he came out with flying colors from the film and television. And then, of course, he came to Bombay. And in Bombay, it was the worst period because there was no job. There was the chocolate boy heroes of the time. There were the good-looking, heroes like Dharmendra, Shashi Kapoor, the whole lot of them, Vinod Khanna. And of course, there was the angry young man, Amitabh Bachchan. So there was actually no place for Om Puri or the likes of Om Puri. So he had a tough time. And anyway, who would take a, newcomer? Who would risk a newcomer? So he joined Roshan again, his ex-professor from FTI, Roshan Taneja sir, was very, very helpful and let him and asked Om to teach in his actor's studio. And he taught speech and movement. And his first batch of students included Anil Kapoor, Mazhar Khan, Surinder Pal, Madan Jain, whole lot of them. And Gulshan Grover, of course, Gulshan Grover, and was one of his earliest batch of students, first batch, in fact. And he remembers them all very hardworking, very keen, very enthusiastic. Gulshan was very enthusiastic. Anil Kapoor was very diligent. So he remembers all of them very, very fondly. And of course, much later, he worked with all of them as, colleagues, just as much as he shared screen space with his mentor like Girish Karnad. He also shared screen space with his students. So for 2 years, he sustained, and then he formed in this interim period because he didn't know whether he would get enough work as a film actor. So he worked in theatre. And he decided, instead of working for a theatre company, he formed his own company called Majma. Now, Majma started doing fantastic plays, Govind Deshpande's Udvash Dharamshala, Bichu, and many other plays, and they took it all round. And the most interesting nugget is the Prithvi Theatre in Bombay, the Prithvi Theatre, was actually opened, inaugurated with Om Puri's Majma. The inaugural play was Udvash Dharamshala, written by Govind Deshpande, directed by Om Puri, and produced by Majma. So that was the inauguration of the Prithvi Theatre. It was very, very, Jennifer and Shashi Kapoor were very, very fond of Om. So, and they realized he was a very good actor. But then he still realized that theatre is not going to take him too far. And he slowly moved out. And it was during one of the Majma performances that Govind Nehalani happened to see him and said, that is the guy I'm looking for in my Ardha Satya. So the next important turning point in his life was Govind Nehalani's Ardha Satya. I'm going to read a bit about how he came to do Ardha Satya. This was in 1984. Ardha Satya was released in 84, but it was shot in 83. There comes a time in an artist's life where one particular work becomes the hallmark of his genius. It represents the core of his work, like Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake, or Orwell's Animal Farm, or Picasso's Guernica. In Om's case, it was Ardha Satya. It not only established Om as the actor Om Puri, but also proved to be a major turning point in his life. And honestly, after Ardha Satya, there was no looking back for Om. There was really no looking back. A little bit about Ardha Satya, how it came. Ironically, when Govind first decided to film Ardha Satya, he had only one person in mind, the angry young man of the day, Amitabh Bachchan. But Bachchan was busy fulfilling his big commercial ventures and had little time for a small budget film, that too with a not yet famous filmmaker. So Govind then approached Om after seeing him perform in Prithvi. One day again 10 years later, Govind's initial choice for the film Drokal was Amitabh Bachchan, but it did not work out. Finally, a decade after, in 2003, Govind realized his dream of working with Amitabh Bachchan in Dev. In Dev, he got both the celebrated actors from Indian cinema, one from the popular genre, and the other from the art genre, Amitabh Bachchan and Om Puri, respectively, to work together for the first time. One day during filming on the sets of Dev, Om caught Bachchan unawares. With a straight face, he told him, Bachchan Saab, I'm eternally grateful to you. Why? Asked Bachchan, surprised. You have done me a big favor. Really? Bachchan asked, even more puzzled. What is it? I cannot thank you enough, Om continued. The suspense was killing, and Om was secretly enjoying every moment of Bachchan's bafflement. But what did I do? Tell me, Bachchan asked impatiently. You refused Ardha Satya. Did I? Yes, you were too busy. Had you done the film, I would have been nowhere today, Om answered. Amitabh Bachchan had a hearty laugh. He said, I'm glad I did, because you did a much better job than I could have done. Incidentally, Omji, Ardha Satya is one of my favorite films. And Bachchan and he shared a wonderful rapport throughout. And I remember Bachchan says, and it's in the book, every actor enjoys a certain compatibility when the co-actor is self-assured and does not step on your toes. That is the kind of comfort Om gives. Acting is all about reacting to the right performances with your colleagues. If a sequence is right and Dev, the credit goes to Om. He also is perhaps one Indian actor who has been able to bridge Indian art cinema, Hindi commercial cinema, and Western cinema. And that coming from the great, legendary Amitabh Bachchan is really, really big. So Ardha Satya was the stepping stone for Om into the world. And after that, there was really no looking back, because he started getting offers after offers, but then he chose very wisely. I remembered him telling me that, he got at least in the first month after Ardha Satya was released, 20 films to play a cop, to play the role of a cop. And he refused. He said, no, if I keep on playing the cop, then very soon I will be relegated to only playing a cop. And I am a trained actor and I love acting. I'm a trained actor for 5 years. So I don't want to spend my whole year just playing one, cop, DCP, whatever, Havaldar, whatever. So he chose wisely. He refused the films. He waited for the right. And then you have the whole repertoire. You have Tamas, you have Akrosh, you have, a variety of roles, to Jane Bhi Do Yaro, to David Dhawan's, films, and Priyadarshan's films, Hera Peri, Malamal Weekly, Kamal Hassan's Chachi 420. So the repertoire was huge. And then, of course, you had the most serious films like Drokal, and you had, China Gate, of course. So there was a whole lot. There was a huge repertoire. And so, as I said, the first turning point was Punjab Kala Manch. The second turning point was the National School of Drama. The third was the Film and Television Institute, which was, again, a carry-on from NSD. It was a minor one. Then, of course, the big break, Ardha Satya. Now, one thing I want to tell you, that Omji always said, and this is for all the youngsters who came to him for advice, he always said, Beta, have a backup. So if you want to be an actor or a director, then it's going to take you years. He came out of FTI in 76, and in 84, after being trained for 5 years, it took him 8 years to make the big break. So he always said, have an option. In Om's case, it was, he taught acting, he taught speech and movement in Taneja's, actor studio. He could have taught anywhere else. He would have given tuitions. But he said, if you want to be an actor, director, then please have a backup. Either have one professional qualification, if you have a family business, or you have a MBA and you want to work as a banker, that's fine. But if you want to work in films related, then be a qualified technician, like a cinematographer, editor, a sound recordist, allied to this thing, so that you have your shop running. You don't get frustrated looking for a job, not getting a job. The home and hearth is running. And while the home and hearth is running, you continue your passion, like he did. He formed Majma, he did theater, He taught acting, but he continued his passion of being a film actor. Now, many of you will say that why did he, ditch theater for films? No, he did not ditch theater. You know, he loved theater. And in fact, Majma had such an important part to play in the theater of, basically in the theater of Hindi theater, that today, though Majma is not really doing much, but the groups which are doing a lot in theater, namely Motley, belonging to Nasiruddin Shah, Benjamin Gilani, they actually came out of Majma. So initially, Nasir and all performed under Omji's Majma, and much later, they Benjamin Gilani and Nasiruddin Shah, they paid, I think, some 1 lakh something those days to come out of Majma and form Motley. And the first play of Motley's, I think it was Waiting for Godot, was actually presented by Majma. It was Majma presents Motley's, So that was it. And but one of the reasons I remember, he never, he always wanted to do theater, but he said, I prefer to do films. Now, the reason why he preferred to do films, he said, films like Ardha Satya, films like Akrosh, films like Tamas. Where could I have reached Tamas or the discovery of India, Bharat-e Khoj by Shyam Benegal's magnum opus, Bharat-e Khoj? He said, how could I have reached out through Govind Nihalani's Tamas or Bharat-e Khoj to the entire country, to the, to even people all over the world, if I had done only theater? I couldn't have. I would have only been restricted. Yes, of course, theater gives you much more, high, because the audience actor response is immediate. But then films also, and he never denied, that he hated theater or didn't want, but he realized he was very practical, and he realized, and he gave his whole heart and soul to films. One thing very important, unlike, some people, he never ever differentiated between films. He never said good film, commercial film is bad and art film is good. No. He always said, you may have the art cinema, the parallel cinema, or the commercial cinema, but both art and commercial cinema can be good or bad. Depends on the filmmaker, depends on the cast. So it is good or bad films, but cinema is not good. He respected every genre of cinema. He loved commercial cinema. He enjoyed doing commercial cinema, and he also respected the art cinema. As he always said, it is because of the art cinema, because of the cinema of Shyam Benegal, Govind Nihalani, Satyajit Ray, he was what he was, and that is how the people from the commercial, whether it was your Farhan Akhtar or your Priyadarshan, your, David Dhawan, all of them, Kabir Khan, all of them, he enjoyed it. He enjoyed working with every director, every, actor, and he also enjoyed working with every kind of cinema. So there was never a discrimination, and he always respected. He said sometimes the script was not very good, but that's okay. It happens. But the money is good, right? So what happens, he said, if art cinema gave me the recognition, gave me my basic bread and butter, it was the commercial cinema which gave me my jam and the other, the other frills of life, which I wouldn't have been able to afford with commercial cinema. So he respected both cinemas, and he, and that is why he thrived in both for the longest time. Now, after, I'll quickly end. The final thing, of course, there was a third turning point in his life, and that was in 1997, 98. That was when he was called to do East is East. Before that, he had done a couple of films. He played a cameo in Gandhi, Richard Attenborough's Gandhi. He played a small role in Jewel in the Crown. But East is East, where he played George Khan, is emblematic of the Om Puri of international cinema. East is East, after East is East, I think till 2007, 2008, he was continuously doing British cinema. and that is the reason why he was awarded the, the Order of the British Empire by the Queen. Prince Charles was a huge fan of his, and he was not one of the Indian actors who was only recognized in England only by the Indians and the Bangladeshis. No, when we were walking the streets, the white cab fellow would say, hey, Om Puri, or into a pub, they would all recognize him. In the USA, he worked with Jack Nicholson, he worked with Julia Roberts, Tom Hanks, Michael Douglas, and the last film he did, Steven Spielberg's The 100-Foot Journey with Helen Mirren. He's worked with everyone, literally, Patrick Swayze, of course, his first film, City of Joy. Though City of Joy was his first international debut, it was actually East is East, which turned his fortunes around, just like Ardha Satya did. And after that, there was no looking back. He had every international director, filmmaker, worth their salt, actually asking him to work for them. And I remember once he had to reject a few films, including working with Morgan Freeman and George Clooney because of dates, and I was so upset. But then, he was so busy with his projects. And he took it all very graciously, all very lightly. He never had the thing that I've reached internationally. He was as humble. And I think he was as giving to his co-stars. That is what sustained him, throughout. And I remember Patrick Swayze saying, Patrick has written the foreword to this book, and he wrote, City of Joy truly changed my life. I came back to my country with a sense of shame of the bubble we live in and made a commitment to be like Om. Om taught me to move through the world with dignity we all possess. I know I sound esoteric while talking about this man, but that was Om Puri. You look into his eyes and you read volumes. That is the kind of power he had as an actor. Unfortunately, both of them are no more. So this is basically, what I'd saying about Omji. And there's a lot of anecdotes. So if you do pick up the book, it's available online all over. There are lots of anecdotes there, and Omji also talks about his films, and anything else I leave it to I won't say any more, because then you won't read the book. And this year we are celebrating the 70th birth anniversary with a whole lot of programs, and on the 18th of October, his 70th birthday, we are launching our YouTube channel, Puri Bate. And please do visit our website, the ompurifoundation.com, where we have reached out. We are taking his philosophy and his legacy ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very enriching talk indeed. Thanks for sharing such interesting shades and important points about his illustrious career. So we will quickly pick up a few questions. Now first we'll take questions from the film students, which are basically my students. So they have written a couple of questions for you. The first question is, which is the best work of Omji you consider from your point of view, and Omji को अपना सबसे अच्छा वर्क कौन सा लगता था? ये students का question है.
Okay, it's very, very difficult to say, I know, but I think my personal Indian favorite would be Akrosh, though Ardha Satya is also very, very close to me, close to my heart. Akrosh, Ardha Satya, and Tamas. Very unfair to just put one. And of course, I loved China Gate. And if you take it from the international, I loved the last film he did, 100-Foot Journey. And of course, I loved East is East and My Son, the Fanatic. And these are films I think all your students should see.
I see. Second question है, ओम जी को क्या अपने घर पे रिहर्सल करते हुए देख?
बिल्कुल. Especially, he was very, very, very diligent about. He was like a child who did their homework. बच्चे को आप homework देते थे ना, तो वो घर पे आके he would be ratoing his lines. He would not go to the set and say, "Chalo, 2 lines दिखाओ," and give immediately like most actors. He would actually read the lines and memorize it. And I used to find it, my God. So ऐसे होता था कभी, he was memorizing and he'll say, एक cup चाय लाओ. So I say, just give me a minute. He said, अरे disturb क्यों कर रहे? I'm reading my lines. So he was so realistic in reading the lines that many times we would get confused whether he was actually rehearsing his lines or he was talking to us. Okay?
थर्ड क्वेश्चन है स्टूडेंट्स की तरफ से. वो लोग पूछते हैं कि आपने बताया कि ओम जी इंग्लिश नहीं पढ़ाता, इंग्लिश की प्रैक्टिस करते थे, बट स्टिल ही परफॉर्म वंडरफुली इन हॉलीवुड सिनेमा एंड ब्रिटिश सिनेमा. तो हाउ डिड ही सॉर्ट ऑफ पिक दोस डायलॉग्स? एक्चुअली डायलॉग्स का रिहर्सल वो कैसे करते थे, या कोई खास कला थी, या उनका जो करियर था एनएसडी और एफटीआई का, क्या वो ट्रेनिंग की वजह से इतना अच्छा कर पाते थे?
See, partly because it is the training, because Al-Qazi Saab told him to practice. Once he got the language, now you just don't stop at NSD and FTI. Whether you're an actor, writer, you have to continuously keep reading and writing and rehearsing, and Omji did that. So I'll just give you a simple example. When he had this scene with Jack Nicholson in Wolf, in the film Wolf, and he would read the lines out to me, and he would say, now the character I play is somebody who's been in the US for a very long time, for 25, 30 years. So I should be able to speak decent English and not have any Punjabi or Hindi or any accent. So I would tick and, tell him these are the words. The words where I felt he had a little Punjabi accent. Now I'll come to East is East. Now East is East had a northern English accent, which is very difficult for any person, normal English person, even a Londoner, to pick up that accent. True. So what Omji did, the lady who played his wife, Linda Bassett, a very well-known actress herself. So he told Linda, you read your lines, you read my lines during the rehearsals. And he ticked those portions. And his logic was that I am married to this woman for 35 years. So obviously, how do I pick up if I've come from Pakistan? I pick up from my wife, the language, and I will pick up her accent. And that is how he, got the accent of that Northern English accent along with that Pakistani English accent together. So these are ways you prepare.
I see. I'm sure you have got your answer, students. Now, mass communication students एक सवाल पूछते हैं. They say, who was the acting icon for Omji?
Well, acting icon, he loved Balraj Sahni very, very much. And plus there were a lot of others like Yusuf Saab and all. But he actually was, if Indian it was Balraj ji, and he had a lot of icons from the West, and they included Jack Nicholson, who was one of his topmost, and he was so happy when he got to share screen space with Jack Nicholson. It was like a dream come true. So yes, and he loved Morgan Freeman, so Meryl Streep, Sophia Loren. So these were his favorite.
So lots of in fact, yeah, he followed lots of actors. The next question comes again from mass communication students. They ask, who was the favorite Indian and foreign director of Mr. Om Puri?
Indian, well, Govind Nihalani.
And why? They are asking why.
And Govind Nihalani, though he loved Satyajit Ray and Shyam Benegal, very closely followed, and he enjoyed working with Farhan Akhtar also. But why Govind Nihalani? Because all his major films came out from Govind Nihalani. Whether it was Ardha Satya, whether it was Tamas, whether it was Akrosh, Dev, Drokal, everything. And of course, he enjoyed working with Shyam Benegal. It would be unfair just to say Govind, because he used to talk about Shyam Benegal and Govind as his mentors in the same breath. And he did with Shyam Benegal, he did Bharat Ek Khoj, he did Arohan, for which he got his national award, and a whole lot of other films. Susman, where he stayed with the weaver. It's the story of a master weaver, and he wove 10 meters of cloth, and he made shirts and gave it to Govind and Shyam, and the shirt he wore for his wedding was what he wove, and he made a dupatta for his screen wife Shabana Azmi. So, I think. And as the international director, I think he enjoyed working with Lasse Hallström, who did 100-Foot Journey, but his favorite was Mike Nichols, with whom, and of course, Roland Joffe, who did City of Joy.
Oh, great. Next question is quite interesting from mass communication teachers, few of the mass communication teachers from Hyderabad. They say कि ओम जी ने सारे क्लीशे को ऑलमोस्ट तोड़ा है फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में आके. उनको पहले बोला गया था कि आप वो एक टिपिकल इमेज जो होती है एक हीरो की उसमें फिट नहीं होते हैं, बट he entered and he sort of broke all those barriers. Everything he broke. और जिस तरीके से फिल्म में उनकी एंट्री हुई और जिस तरीके के वाइड रेंज ऑफ रोल्स ओम जी ने किए, सो कॉल्ड आर्ट सिनेमा बोल लीजिए या कॉमर्शियल सिनेमा, उन्होंने सीरियस रोल भी किए और उन्होंने लाइट रोल भी किए हैं और बहुत ही हार्डकोर कॉमेडी और वो रोल भी उन्होंने किए हैं, जैसे चुपके चुपके का उन्होंने जिक्र कर रहे हैं टीचर्स. तो व्हाट वाज ही सॉर्ट ऑफ क्या ये वो एनएसटी और एफटीआई का ट्रेनिंग था ये एक्टर के पीछे, या उनकी कड़ी मेहनत थी? और एक चीज और वो लिखते हैं, बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज लिख रहे हैं अपने मैसेज में, कि ओम जी को जब भी हम किसी फिल्म में देखते हैं किसी बड़े एक्टर के साथ में, यहाँ तक कि अमिताभ बच्चन के साथ में भी जब उनको देखते हैं तो फ्रेम में अगर बैकग्राउंड में भी खड़े हुए हैं तो वो एक अलग नजर आते हैं ओम जी किसी भी बड़े एक्टर के साथ में. तो ये क्या था पर्सनालिटी के साथ में जब भी किसी एक्टिंग रोल को निभाते थे, तो क्या उनके साथ में ओम जी के साथ में ये खाली उनका एफटीआई का या आई थिंक एनएसडी लिख रहे हैं, एनएसडी का ट्रेनिंग था, या उनकी कड़ी मेहनत थी, या वो क्या जान डालते थे रोल के अंदर जो उनको इतना यूनिक बनाता था?
See, first of all, I would say the background of NSD and FTI has given him the base, the confidence, the base that whatever it is, I am a trained actor, I can do I can cover anything. That was and he had immense confidence. He would just say, "Are this role, Amit ji has done it beautifully," and he was a great fan of Amit ji's. But he would say, "Are I would also do equally good, or if not better," because that confidence was there. You see, that is one. And the second thing, very hard work. I would call him a workaholic. Matlab, if you wanted to kill Om ji, you tell him 6 mahina kaam mat karo, he would be dead. Ek mahina se, he would say, I want a holiday 15 din baad, and he would be constantly working, constantly improving, constantly reading, and he broke all cliches, as they said. And I remember Nawazuddin told me a very beautiful sentence after Omji passed away, and he said, I was Nawaz, he was so upset that though didn't say, I was very, very upset, because hum to films join karne aaye, Bombay aaye, अमिताभ बच्चन और धर्मेंद्र को नहीं देख के, हम ओम पुरी और नसीरुद्दीन शाह को देख के हौसला रख के आए, So this is a very interesting thing, that when what Om did, that he broke all the conventions, it made it easier for people like Nawaz, for others, like you name the other unconventional actors who came, Irfan and others, to come. And also he paved the way for Irfan in Hollywood very easily. So Irfan and Om are very well known in Hollywood. They are perhaps the only 2 Indian actors who are known in Hollywood for their work, not just star power. Star power is left with Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan. The world knows them for their star. But if anybody is familiar with an Indian actor's work, that is Om Puri and that is Irfan Khan.
True. ये एक पर्सनल मुझे एक मैसेज आया है. ही इज राइटिंग क्वाइट इंटरेस्टिंग कमेंट. ही सेज के ओम जी ने शायद कुछ एक्टिंग में छोड़ा नहीं, कुछ बचा नहीं.
बिल्कुल सही.
It's quite interesting. In fact, there is one more message again on my personal message box. He says, वो उनका द्रोकाल फिल्म को I think best consider करते हैं अपने point of view से, ये जो व्यूअर लिख रहे हैं. And he says there are 2 handsome men, इंडस्ट्री को उन्होंने द्रोकाल में देखा, एक तो ओम जी और एक आशीष विद्यार्थी.
बिल्कुल.
I think that's it.
And if you look at it that way, Ashish has very unconventional looks, Absolutely. And he was just that time fresh out of NSD, Bechara. He was not even getting much role. Drokal, again, you give it to Govind for picking up that actor, for picking up Om Puri, for picking up Ashish Vidyarthi. And both of them, look, they've broken everything, and look. So it is true. Yeah, 2 very, very handsome men.
Absolutely. So now I think we have touched 56 minutes. So I'll take one more question. That is the last question. the last question is, आपसे जानना चाहते हैं ऑडियंस के ऐसा कोई वर्क जो ओम जी करना चाहते थे और नहीं कर पाए, या वो ऐसा कुछ किसी डायरेक्टर के साथ करना चाहते थे कोई काम या नहीं कर पाए, वो एक आपका व्यू जानना चाहते हैं ऑडियंस.
Well, there were a couple of things he wanted to do. We have a farmhouse in Khandala. ऐसे कुछ, I don't think there is any. See, the thing why Omji got everything is he never said, I want to work with that actor, I want to work with that director. Never. They all came to his door. He never went out seeking work. And because he did his work diligently and he was so humble, so work just came. And whoever came, sometimes he didn't even know a lead actor in Hollywood he was going to work with, and he'd ask me, and I'd tell him, and then he'd say, oh, great. And then he'd do a film festival on that particular actor, see his films and all. So that was him. He never had any notions, and everything came to him. But yes, as far as films and directors and actors, I think he said, I don't have any wish. Whoever comes, I'm open. That was his thing. But what he wanted to really do was, he wanted to open a Gurukul in Khandala, in his farmhouse, where he said, I would take only 10 students who would live with me. And not only I would teach them acting, the nuggets of acting, I would teach them how to be a human being, farming, yoga, everything which takes, it makes you a wholesome person. That was one thing. And the second thing, he was actually planning to do a play with our son, Ishan, and present it under Majma. And because he was saying he was going to do less film and revive Majma and go into theater. So he wanted to do a play with Ishan and, revive Majma. That was his, thing, unfortunately. But yeah.
Amazing indeed. He was not having any notion, and that made him Om Puri actually. Thank you so much, Nandita, for joining us today for such a scintillating talk. And we came to know so many insights about his life. And we cherish Omji, and whole world cherish Omji. He will survive with his work, the kind of work he has done. I belong to a film studies department. I know how students love his work and how students follow his work. It's like an academic film academic for them actually.
Please, and I want all the students to be following from the 18th October onwards our YouTube channel, Puri Baatein. We will have tips to actors. We will be discussing films, and of course to visit our website, ompurifoundation.com.
Thank you so much, Nandita, for kindly joining us today. It's been wonderful talking to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We close today's show here only. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back with yet another media veteran next week. Till then, take good care of you. Thank you so much.